This week is my thoughts on the Moto Morini X-Cape 650 or 649 as it says on the side there. So as you may remember, I have actually ridden the Moto Morini Siemmezo 650 STR, which I thought was an absolutely fantastic bike on the road. Very, very good bike that was indeed. So I've got high expectations of this one. There are bits I like about the bike and bits that I don't, which I'll be taking you through this video. Reminds me a lot of the, and I know other people have said this, of the Honda Africa Twin, which again is a very popular bike as well. Braking side of things, they're Brembos, they're twin discs on the front, relatively large. I'll put all the spec up at the end. We have a 19 on the front and a 17 on the rear. They're Scorpion Rally STR tyres, good for a bit of everything I suppose you could say. On the back again we have the Brembo single caliper there. Let me just show you this 7-inch TFT screen here. Once it fires up, lovely jubbly, look at that. Now we do have tyre pressures on the screen as well. The standard screen, when it's in ride mode, has all of your Bluetooth connectable things like the music and your phone. You can connect it up to that. We have the trips 1 and 2, what mode you're in down here, the odometer here, gear position indicator, time, and obviously that's your rev bar and your miles per hour. It's right in front of you. It's a bike that you sit into. This is a bike which is £7,000, so it's it's a real wallet busting price there. Really, really good. What I'm doing is I'm just flicking down here and I'm going to go into the ride menu there. Then I'm going to change it to off-road, like so. Now when I hold down this button here, I can have switchable ABS, which can be on or off. Now when you go from off-road to ride, you get a different screen as well. So I haven't noticed a huge difference between the mapping between ride and off-road. I think there is some difference, but it's so minute that you don't really notice it. It might even be psychological that there's a difference there in the mapping. On the bars, on the left-hand side is an adjustable clutch, and then we have all the menu buttons here, lights, and the indicators and the horn, obviously, and the flasher on the other side. On the right bar, we have the kill switch, hazards, lights on and off, and start button. Before anyone says, this is a Chinese bike, not that there's anything wrong with that, but it's a Chinese bike at Chinese prices. For that, you do get a bike which is nicely finished. Now, when I say it's nicely finished, that doesn't mean that there's good materials underneath it, because as with most bikes like this, it normally is well finished, but then they've not put a huge amount of money into the materials, and this is no exception. There are parts on here which could be better. It's, for example, the nuts and the fastenings, for example. Some of it is just chrome steel, so it does tend to wear a little bit, and then you will get, some rust once that powder coat has come off. It's got a lot of Kawasaki Versys elements about it, like this rear shock here, rear spring. It is adjustable for preload and dampening as well. And also for your £7,000, we even get adjustable front forks as well, which is pretty impressive. So that's all nice there. Everything feels good. Switchgear is illuminated at night as well on the bike, which is just £7,000. It all feels really nice. This one over here feels a bit wibbly wobbly loose, but that's not the end of the world. Right, so in this review, I'm going to take you through town, and I'm going to take you on the motorway. I'm not going to do any green laning. It's not my bike. I don't want to bust it, and I don't want to take any risks with it. So it's never worth it, is it? So I'm going to do what I can to show you what the bike is like. I'm pretty much said all I need to say on that front. So let's get out on the road. Punching my way through traffic. I'm in a really good high position here. Although the seat height doesn't feel that high to me as such, it gives me a really good commanding position here to get a good sight of everything, and everybody can see me as well because the actual headlights are quite high up. That's a good little safety aspect of this bike. People can always see you. That's a good start there. It feels good, it feels comfortable, I feel in control. Doesn't feel overbearing. It's just when I come to a stop, if it's on a slight camber, and you do have to bear in mind that obviously it is quite a top heavy bike, I would say. Certainly when it's fully fueled, you feel it a lot more, a surprising amount more, because at the end of the day it carries about 20 kilograms of fuel, this bike, when fully topped up. So yeah, so you certainly feel it a little bit being top heavy. As a city commuter, it's a big old bike, but that big old bike has the handlebars above the car door mirrors. It's comfortable, you can see what's going on all the time, you don't get kind of lost in the traffic, you become part of it in many respects. You can see everything that's going on. Handles okay as far as it goes. It's not nimble, but it's not cumbersome either, so overall it works. So I guess you've got to ask yourself, really, do you put your money into this, which you get a lot for your £7,000, but as soon as it goes out the door, it's going to drop quite a lot in value, just in depreciation, but you do get a good bike. You won't get the parts very easy for it, that might take a long time. Or do you go for like one of the competition, like the V-Strom 650 for example? That is an option. The 650 is a great bike, there's no doubt about that. That is a fantastic machine, great engine, well proven over the years, goes on forever. Parts are still difficult to get in this current climate, but you can still get them. But again, it's that whole thing of how much you trust your money to go into something which might be challenging to own if anything goes wrong, or when it goes wrong. It's not if, it's when, isn't it? I didn't want to do absolutely nothing off-road. I'm just going to do a little tiny section through a Ford basically. So we'll see what that happens there, just to let you know what it's like. Oh, sorry. I'm a bad guy. Sorry. I had no idea you were there then. Sorry about that. Alright. Okay. Oopsie daisy. Anyway, so I wanted to do a quick off-road section and just let you know what it's like. So from here on it gets a little bit ropey, and then out the other side it's covered in mud everywhere. So got a Ford down here. It's rare that anyone's up here, let alone the horsey there. So here we go, it gets some ropey stuff down a steep slope here, which probably won't show up. And there we go, and then we got this Ford here, so probably going to be a bit slimy, but we'll give it a go. Oh dear, poo everywhere here. Got to be careful because of the mossy surface below. So again, in first gear, you know, it's very tractable. If you do want to take things slowly, then it will munch up anything. Even this deep rut here, look. Like that. Stood up on the pegs. It's lovely. Really, really good. Based on the ER6 engine. It's got a bit of sting to it. Got a lovely roar to the engine once you open it up. The 6th gear almost feels like a kind of overdrive gear. Just feels really settled, even though we're just about 5,000 RPM at 70 miles an hour. Feels really capable. Feels like you could really munch miles on this bike. So I can adjust the screen on the fly. it is in its highest position and it's noisy. It's doing better than what I thought it was going to do, considering it is a very small screen. Oh, don't brake on a dual carriageway, for God's sake. Get out of the way of these. Yeah, it's a small screen and it is quite a windy place to be here. I just feel like I could just do this for a long time. So if you're looking for a bike which munches miles, then I really do think this is a good choice. I want to show you what it's like to pull off the stand. So off she comes like so. It's easy enough to pull off the stand, but this is where you have to be a bit more mindful that it is a lumpy bike, all right? So it can easily fall away from you if you're not careful. Select neutral. Right, so we're in neutral now. The lock on the bike is surprisingly good, considering it's quite a heavy old bike. And most importantly, we do have some really decent handles here, which you can hold on to and really get a good purchase of the bike, so it's not moving around too much. The bars are relatively wide, not the widest that I've seen, but they're just okay. They do the job quite nicely. Got a side stand here, no centre stand, but that's quite normal for most bikes, isn't it? So moving it around, it's a lump, but it's a lump which you can manage, so it's not too bad. Well then guys, so I've just taken my son out, Jed, Pillion. We've gone about 8 miles out of Exeter, and just literally just to test what the Pillion seat is like and what he thinks of it. Being a 14-year-old young man, there's a little bit more of an effect on the braking, I found, but the suspension is holding in really well, even though I've left it on the same setting as what it was before, on a soft setting. It does still seem to hold in quite well. Now Jed's had some experience of other bikes riding Pillion, so what's your thoughts on the back seat there, Jed?
So my thoughts on the back seat is that I think it's pretty comfortable. Yeah. It's quite a big seat as well, like width-ways and length-ways, so you know, if you're a bigger person, you could still fit on there pretty easily, to be fair.
That's a very good point, because I do like to do my reviews for different people, you know, large and small and anything else, so yeah, that's a good point there.
Yeah, and the texture is pretty nice, so you know, even if it's raining, you can probably still grip on there perfectly fine, you know, so there's no issues there.
Yes,
and
I didn't think about that, yeah, because that's got a texture to it, hasn't it? So
yeah, it's pretty like...
It's kind of rubbery, isn't it?
Yeah, it's rough, but it's like good.
Yeah,
you know?
rough, that's the word.
Explain it,
yeah. Yeah, so would you be happy doing many miles on that, do you think, or...?
Yeah, I'll be happy doing many miles. I don't see any problems with it, to be honest. But
yeah, yeah, it's always hard to tell till you actually do it, of course, isn't it? And it's got quite a slope to it. Do you find that you're pushed down towards me at all, or is it okay?
No, not really. I feel like I'd feel perfectly level, to be honest. I don't feel any. Yeah, I'm not getting like pushed down or pulled back or anything. So.
And you've been holding on to me, haven't you, as opposed to holding on to this?
Yeah.
Sat on the bike, I'm 5'8", I've got a 30-inch inside leg measurement, as most of you already know, because I've said that on every single review. I'm flat-footing it, it feels good, it does feel quite top-heavy, even with sort of half a tank in the fuel there, but yeah, it feels okay, it feels manageable. I think if you're a new rider and are looking at this as a bit intimidating, then I think just give it a go. I would say that in time you do get used to a slightly heavier bike anyway, so I think you should be okay there. Swinging your leg over, it's quite a high bike again, but again, it's kind of what you want really, isn't it? It's a bike which is substantial and looks good, because we've all had bikes where you look at them and they look good when you first buy them, and sort of 2 months down the road you're looking at it thinking, well, it's a little bit small, looks a bit small, I want something bigger. Whereas this, you won't get that. It will always feel like a substantial adventure tourer. Givi do make a top box and panniers as well. Givi also make crash bars for this bike as well. Moto Morini have their own, but they're quite difficult to get hold of at the moment. So, and that is this bike's, you know, many Achilles heels really. Parts availability is quite difficult to get. I have done my research on it. It's the same old story with the Chinese bikes, which are lesser known, shall we say. The bikes are great, they could sell really well, but the parts backup is pretty abysmal, and unfortunately that's the case with this bike. With this sort of bike, you've got to have the parts backup. Moto Morini really need to get on top of this, because you know, it's part of the problem really why you don't see a lot of them on the road is you know, is parts availability and dealership network. You know, it's almost like they're concentrating on Europe and Great Britain just gets left behind. Very spread out dealership network there, so I'm hoping in time that'll get better, but I'm not really seeing anything happen at the moment at all. You know, and what I don't want is for Moto Morini and the X-Cape and the STR to be a one-trick pony. They're brilliant bikes. They are answering a lot of questions that people want to be answered. But again, it's getting bums on seats, and it's getting the dealership network off the ground and properly out there. I really, really want this bike to work. I want the brand to work, but you know, as I say, I'm just not seeing what I need to see at the moment. It just seems to be ticking along. So thanks to Moto Morini. Thank you very much for lending me this X-Cape 650. Fantastic machine, really, really good. I hope you get things rolled out and, you know, things really progress in the right direction. And most importantly, thank you to you guys for watching. I can't do this without you, and you're what makes the channel tick along. So I'll see you next week, Sunday at 4 p.m. for another review, or it could be anything. But give the video a like if you would, please. That would be superb. That really does help me a lot. And I'll see you next week.